It's 12 noon in Accra, Ghana, 14 hours in Johannesburg, South Africa, 8 a.m. in Ottawa, Canada, and 11 p.m. in Canberra, Australia. This is Midday Live on TV3. I am Wendy Lai. The headlines for this afternoon. PNC Chairman Bernard Mona calls for expulsion of Israeli ambassador to Ghana. This afternoon, we will speak with Mr. Mona to understand why, and also an international relations expert. Operation Calm Life relaunched. We will explore how the relaunch will assist towards the fight against crime across the country. And on the international front, U.S. President Donald Trump praises UN Security Council for imposing tough new sanctions on North Korea in response to ballistic missile tests. We have details of these and other stories in the next 1 hour. Please do stay. We'll start with our stories. And the Princess Marie Louise Children's Hospital in Accra continues to be inundated with folders despite several reports highlighting the lack of space in the hospital. Every little space available in the hospital has been used as a place to keep folders. The situation is affecting healthcare delivery.
If you have at any point in time sought medical attention at any health facility, then, of course, you know the importance of having a folder. Here at the Princess Marie Louise Children's Hospital in Accra, folders have taken over an entire building. Even chairs for patients have all been converted to keeping folders and exposed to the weather. Clearly, patients are not safe considering the way information is kept here.
The
hospital once misplaced my folder, but later had to replace it for me.
This black rubber is the only source of shelter for folders when the day comes to an end. The situation is no different at the balcony next to the hospital's kitchen. The hospital has converted its storeroom to serve the same purpose. The situation has been like this for the past 17 years, and folders dated as far back the year 2000 can all be found here. So you can just imagine the difficulties those in this department usually go through when they are looking for a patient folder.
So with the old patient, when they come with the ID cards, retrieving the folders for them is a big challenge. It takes sometimes 30 minutes, 1 hour to retrieve a folder for a patient. Some of them even cannot locate the folders, especially with the ladies. You know, some will go outside, they can't climb the ladders and they retrieve folders.
Currently, there are over 300,000 folders for both old and new patients. Patients are feeling the brunt of the situation.
We wait for a very long time to get our folders retrieved for us.
Going paperless is the way to solve the problem. However, there isn't enough funds to procure all the needed items. Apparently, about 70% of its patients have been rolled onto the National Health Insurance Scheme, and payment of the money delays on the side of the government. Medical Director of the facility, Dr. Isaac Arban, says the hospital has put in place some measures to solve the situation, but needs more support.
We are dealing with children, so if they wait too long in queues to be seen by our clinicians, it's not well, because their condition can deteriorate very fast. We've managed to do the constructional bit, the bulk of the construct. What we need now are computers. We've been given a budget of around 52,000 Ghana cedis. Mainly going to be for the software and for the the work, the labor and all those things for the people coming to pick the folders and tag them and all those things.
The Princess Marie Louise Children's Hospital is a healthcare institution that provides medical care and child health, family planning and nutrition services. The provision of computers to enable them go paperless will go a long way to help the facility improve on its services. For TV3, Kwabna Edu Jemfi.
Away from healthcare, the Ghana National Association of Teachers, GNAT, has warned the Controller and Accountant General to urgently pay their outstanding salary arrears or risk nationwide strike in the first week of January 2018. General Secretary David Ofori-Champon said most of their members have had their 3 months outstanding arrears despite going through the teacher validation exercise.
According to GNAT, most of its members who undertook the teacher validation exercise have had their arrears not paid. It explained that some have about 3 months outstanding arrears despite undertaking the teacher validation exercise. GNAT revealed that the controller issued a 48-hour ultimatum for all teachers to register with the electronic voucher system, but the association argued that most of its members are scattered around the country and could not register within 48 hours. This compelled controller to suspend their salaries. But months after going through the registration exercise, the controller is yet to restore and pay their arrears. General Secretary of GNAT is unhappy about the development.
If you send a message to a teacher in my village, in my hometown, and the network, it doesn't go through, it is not possible that even the message can go through unless he comes to an area where there's connectivity. So do you have to punish that individual because the facility that is supposed to transmit the business is not working when the person had been at post? We have raised this issue severally with the Controller Accountant General, and it's like they don't care. When the time comes, they would care.
Going into 2018, the association implored members to be more productive for better salaries.
The same level of commitment we put into our religious activities, we should put into our social life as Ghanaians and work as Ghanaians. And I believe that if that commitment sinks into our hearts and we do diligently, Ghana will be better for all of us.
Meanwhile, the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union ICU has called on government to ensure that it reduces utility tariffs as promised.
If labor, employer, and government is there, and government can only walk to PUS and say reduce by these margins, and they will, then labor and then employer can also go and say, look, me too, I cannot bear all this one, do something about it. We think that bit was not helpful.
General Secretary Solomon Kotei again called on governments to properly revamp existing factories before embarking on the One District, One Factory program.
If existing factories that have actually carried the employment economy on their shoulders are being supervised to their demise, then you promise me a new one to come. The thing is in your mouth, you have not finished chewing it, and you want to put more into it. What then happens? We've drawn government attention that those strategic factories must be looked at.
To other stories, and the Embassy of the State of Israel in Ghana has expressed regret over Ghana's vote at the special United Nations General Assembly sitting on Thursday. Ghana was among 128 nations that voted against the United States' decision to move its embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem at the sitting. The 9 nations, including Ghana's neighbors Togo, voted in favor of the move, while 35 abstained. 21 nations were absent. A statement from the Israeli embassy on Friday described Ghana's vote as a mistake. It also described the whole process at the UN head office as a farce and meaningless. It asked Ghana not to repeat such mistake in subsequent motions. And joining me this afternoon in the studio is Bernard Monah. He's the national chairman of the PNC, one person who's really stood against the stance of the embassy. And Bernard, you were very angry. Are you still angry that you haven't had any response from the ministry? And what do you make of this whole process?
First, let me say that what is happening, particularly with the United States of America, is that the United States doesn't appear to have a permanent issue. Just before coming here, I could hear people saying that the United States is praising the UN Security Council for unanimously voting to impose harsher sanctions on North Korea. This time, the US or the UN is not an institution that represents nothing. It represents something because they have decisioned with the United States of America and decisioned with Israel to impose tougher sanctions on North Korea. the UN took a decision, and indeed, if you recall, the Security Council of 15 members earlier had met, and it was only the United States of America that stood up to vote for their position. All the other 14 members voted against, and because when it's a permanent member of the Security Council decides not to vote for an issue or a motion, that motion cannot be carried. That is how come the Special General Assembly was organized by the UN. And at the end of the day, Ghana plus 127 other countries voted against the US motion that the capital of Israel should be in Jerusalem, and they are going to move their embassy there. Of course, 9 countries voted against or in support of the United States, and as you said, 35 voted against. In all this, I have no difficulty in the Israelis issuing a statement of regret, particularly that they were expecting the UN to vote for their position, and the UN did not vote. What is worrying is the attempt by the Israeli ambassador to say that Ghana's sovereignty or Ghana's decision to vote against their position was a mistake. This is a decision that was taken in consultation with the president. And the president would have instructed the foreign minister to inform the ambassador at the UN to vote on a particular line. For the Israeli ambassador to have the effrontery, the gusto, to tell us that the decision that we took at the UN was a mistake is an attack on our sovereignty as a nation and our ability as a people to decipher wrong from right. The fact that this is what Israel wanted does not mean that we should go with Israel even if they are wrong, or the UN when they are wrong. And if I were president by now, the Israeli ambassador would have been on his way out of Ghana whilst I'm recalling our ambassador to Israel. Because I will not sit down, and Ghana should not sit down, for anybody to just come and make any reckless statement on our nation and our sovereignty. And we have a president, and the president is not acting.
All right, let me just hold you there. Yesterday, we did hear that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said we're going to come up with a statement to respond to this. But before you continue, I do have Professor Kojo Gavua. He is the Dean, School of Arts, University of Ghana. And he is also an international relations expert. Thanks for joining me, sir. Good afternoon, Prof. I think we're having some difficulty. Can you hear me, Prof? I think we're having some difficulty with Prof. Can you hear me now, Prof?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, thank you so much for your time. Now, the Israeli embassy in Ghana has described Ghana's vote as a mistake and has asked Ghana not to repeat such a mistake in subsequent motions. Should Ghana as a country see this as a threat?
Well, to some extent, it is a threat to our national sovereignty. However, it is an advice coming from Israeli ambassador to Ghana. It is up to our nation to hit that advice or to laugh at it. The point is that no country has the audacity to dictate how a sovereign nation should rule itself or should take a decision at the United Nations. If the decision goes against you, well, you may say that it is a mistake. But we Ghanaians, speaking through our government, have decided not to support President Trump in this particular enterprise. The point is the Israeli ambassador may have the guts to make such a pronouncement because perhaps we have not yet shown that we have a true identity as a nation, and then we can be firm. So every other nation thinks they can dictate to us. This should be a big lesson to us as a nation, that we must be strong on the ground. We have been enduring all these sufferings over the years, and we should not kowtow to any country because of the crumbs they throw at us. Okay? We have to be strong as a nation. So, well, that advice can be given. You can give me advice. It's up to me to take it or to leave it. And I don't think this should have any effect on our nation at all. And nobody should even think about it.
Now, Prof, you mentioned in your last words that we have to show that we have a true identity as a nation and a sovereign state. Speaking to Bernard Mona early on, he is of the view that by now government, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, should have responded or probably taken some action against the ambassador. What's your take on this?
Well, a government works in its own way. Perhaps they are meeting and deciding on what to say to the Israeli ambassador. I will not be here right now and be worried because government has not yet taken a decision. I can understand his point, and it is necessary for us to make a statement that would show that we are on our own. You see, even if we've been nurtured over time by some countries, today we are of age. We are about 60 years old and more as a nation state, and people should not take us for a ride. And so I believe that government will come out with a statement that will make Ghanaians proud, but not to compromise and to speak in diplomatic language that will not be clear to anybody.
Thank you so much, Professor Kojo Gavoa. He is the Dean, School of Arts, University of Ghana, and also an international relations expert. Now, you did hear Professor Gavoa, especially the bit about taking a stance as a sovereign state. And you've also touched on it. Are we too slow?
I think that we are not believing in our capacity and the potentialities.
What could be the reason?
And I don't know whether we think that there is some big boy somewhere with a big hammer ready to hit our head and break us into pieces. And therefore, our government is showing timidity, even in the face of an ambassador having the gust to make a pronouncement to tell our president and our nation that the position that we took on a subject is a mistake, and even threatening us, or more or less telling us that don't repeat that mistake again. How dare an ambassador to say this? And our president is comfortable. Our Minister for Foreign Affairs is comfortable.
What if they're putting their heads together to come up?
They should get him out before they do any other thing. You see, sometimes, like the Prof said, and I'm happy, sometimes too much diplomacy is the reason for which all these things go on. We cannot allow reckless talk from anybody. We sat here and the UK ambassador to Ghana made all kind of reckless statements and almost interfered in our internal politics. We allowed it. So today, others are following in that suit. We must step down and ensure that these kind of pronouncements from persons that are accredited to our nation are seized.
All right. Thank you so much, Bernard Mona. He's a national chairman of the People's National Convention. We're grateful for your time. You're still watching.
I wish you a Merry Christmas.
A Merry Christmas to you too. President Akufo-Addo has relaunched Operation Calm Life, geared towards fighting against crime across the country. More than 200 vehicles and 300 motorbikes have been allocated to the project.
Operation Calm Life, a joint military and police operation, was instituted in the early 2000s to reduce the fear of crime. The joint police-military engaged in vigorous day and night patrols to deepen the fight against crime. However, the novelty suffered significant loss of steam due to a number of factors, including inadequate logistics. The relaunch has become necessary following the high demand for more proactiveness towards crime fighting.
To ensure the police and the military continue to provide a safe and serene environment for the people and residents in Accra and other parts of the country.
Interior Minister Ambrose Derry underscored the need to increase the police strength.
We do not make the mark of the UN minimum police to population ratio of 1 to 500. The ratio in Ghana is 1 to 848.
The Minister for Defense, Dominic Nitiwul, called on the judiciary to do more in the fight against crime.
To boost the morale of our troops, because when crimes are committed and the perception is that people are not prosecuted as quickly as possible, others are emboldened to do the same.
President Akufo-Addo announced the injection of 200 vehicles and 300 motorbikes into the operation and assured the people of government's commitment towards ensuring their safety and security.
We shall also be investing heavily in technology to strengthen our capacity so that they can effectively carry out their mandate
and help maintain the peace, security, and stability of our nation in our quest to build a progressive and prosperous Ghana.
He called on the public to effectively collaborate with the security agencies to maintain law and order by helping to deal with persons who break the law.
And still staying on this story, joining me via Skype is Adam BONAA. He is a security and safety expert. Good afternoon, sir, and thanks for your time.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to cherished viewers.
Now, in a bid for the police service to reposition itself, one of the activities they've taken is the relaunch of the Operation Calm Life. What do you make of this?
Yeah, once again, good afternoon to your cherished viewers. I think, first of all, I must wish the President, Merry Christmas in advance, and the people of Ghana, Merry Christmas in advance. And let me also commend the President for giving these vehicles to the police and also relaunching the Operation Calm Life. This operation has been ongoing year in, year out, and so it's not new, but then it's good to know the President, is in tune with whatever the expectations of Ghanaians are, and he's retooling the police and getting them some of the needed, vehicles to be able to patrol and ensure the, our community and, the township is safe. Yeah.
Now, you've mentioned that this is not the very first time such an activity has taken place. Would you say that the past has yielded any results, and the reason why there is some bit of reinforcements to ensure that the operation lives up to its expectation?
Yes, around this time, all over the world, you have people crisscrossing. We want to call it the great migration usually takes place around this time. Either people traveling north, south, east, crisscrossing country because they want to, join family, friends to celebrate the Christmas. And once that is taking place, you have the bad people also, trying to either rob, steal, harm people to be able to probably get what they need. And so it is usually the right time to reinforce the fact that the President, I'm sure you know, and your viewers know, he's the Commander-in-Chief. And so it's to reinforce the fact that we need to live in a very secure, safe environment. But I must be quick to say that if you look at the police, civilian ratio, it's still very high. We are doing around 800, almost 900. The Minister of Interior, I must also commend him. He's doing a good job. I'm sure through him, some of these initiatives, have taken place. And so we must commend him. As I drove through town, fortunately, we have a lot of senior police officers who are, who have joined their, junior staff to be able to make sure traffic flow is good, patrols are good, even though they lack the personnel. And I think I did hear the Minister of the Interior says over the years, they are going to be increasing the number of police officers on the beat so that the ratio to civilian would decrease. And to let your viewers and those who are viewing us know, the population, the population of New York is less than 9 million, and the police, population in New York is about 40,000. Our police population, when I say police population, that includes uniform and non-uniform police officers. Is running around 32,000. And so it tells you that if we are 27 million to 30 million, and we have this insignificant number of police officers, and you take New York is just a very small, in terms of population. One will say they have the resources, but it doesn't really matter. We can do much. The other thing I want to also say has to do with year in, year out, we've had, successive presidents and successive leaders putting in resources into the police service. But usually, or the security agencies, let me put it that way, usually what they do is they go for open tender. And if you have to retool a security agency such as the police service, you don't go for open tender. But usually for public accountability sake and what have you. They go for public, they go for, open tender, and they purchase. Most of these vehicles are purchased from the open market. So, for instance, you would be driving a Nissan Navara. The police officer who is supposed to be giving you protection is also driving a Nissan Navara. I'm not saying they are not good, but all over the world, these vehicles for security agencies are built for purpose. They are built to withstand the terrain. They are built to do a lot of things, and they are equipped with technology, latest technology. But unfortunately, the police usually drive slower cars than some civilians drive. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world that you would have the police officers driving slower vehicles than some civilians would drive. And so I think instead of us usually going onto the open market to buy vehicles, and these vehicles, I must say, are for civilians. If you give a civilian vehicle to the police and they run these vehicles 24/7, my vehicle, I am sitting here, my vehicle is parked because then I only drive it when I have to move. The police vehicle runs 24/7 non-stop. What it means is that these vehicles are going to break down whether you like it or not. The other thing has to do with monitoring. Yesterday, whilst I was out there trying to do my own survey, I mean, seeing going around to see whether the police officers were doing what we're expecting them to do. I did encounter a senior police officer, and I, asked him a few questions. And what he did say was that he's actually facing service inquiry. I won't mention the location. He's facing a service inquiry. And within the police, when they say service inquiry, it means that you have questions to answer to your superiors. You haven't done something, you haven't followed process. And the reason is that he sends junior police officers to go out there and provide monitoring, protection, and they didn't go to where they were supposed to go. And his superiors realized, and so he's been asked to appear and answer questions. If we deploy and we don't monitor, then it is needless. We are not going to achieve anything. But that is what is going on. It is, it is important to know that the president did mention in his speech that the country is going to deploy technology, the latest technology for, enhancing the services of the work of the police service. So I would want to say, going into 2018, let's see what we are putting into our security agencies. Let's not just go in for, everything we go onto the market to buy. Within a year or two, these vehicles are broken down.
Thank you so much, Adam BONAA. He is a security and safety expert. Thank you so much for your time. To other stories, and the Akuman Hene Nana Kwamwa Echapong has asked the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, not to fail in finding solutions to the nomadic herdsmen crisis in the Kwewu enclave. He expressed worry over the long dispute, appealing to the President to help resolve the impasse. Ivonikwe has more.
The Kwewu man Hene Nana Akwamwa Ejapong did not mince words whilst addressing a deba at Abene in the Kwewu East district of the Eastern region. He wants immediate solutions to end the impasse on the Fulani situation. President Akufo-Addo considered the Fulani issue was a big matter. He was, however, hopeful by 2020 lasting solutions would be arrived at.
You're still watching Media Live. We have more shortly. Thanks for staying. You're still watching Midday Live. Food and Drugs Authority, FDA, is cautioning the public to be mindful of food items purchased on the markets during the festive season. Chief Regulatory Officer and Head of Food Enforcement Department at the FDA, Maria Abba-Lovelace Johnson, in an interview said they would act firmly to protect the health and safety of Ghanaians.
Some retailers and importers sell unwholesome products to the unsuspecting consumers during the festive season, causing serious health problems. Some of them are sold at highly discounted prices, whilst others are running a buy one, get one free promotion. Speaking in an interview with TV3, Chief Regulatory Officer and Head of Food Enforcement Department at the Food and Drugs Authority, Maria Abba-Lovelace Johnson, said Any breach of the Public Health Act would not be tolerated. The warning comes amidst the usually high patronage of goods during the festive season. She urged consumers to take the trouble to look at the labels and expiry dates on all products before buying them.
We are expecting that the public will help us to, food safety is a collective responsibility. We expect the general public to give us some information whenever they hear that some people are engaged in some unscrupulous activities and all that. And also consumers are supposed to read the labels of the products they buy. So some of the structures that the FDA has put in is the intensification of the market surveillance.
She called for an end to the practice where goods were displayed in the open and exposed excessively to heat from the sun. She further indicated that the FDA is committed to sanitizing the market by getting rid of all unwholesome food items as Christmas approaches.
We have intensified our public education, more consumer education. If there is a product being sold at half the price or a third of the original price, what you have to think of is, why is someone selling it at such a price? It means that it's getting close to the expiry or the best before date.
And festive occasions such as Christmas always come along with a boom in business and trading activities. With just a few days to Christmas, livestock traders at North Industrial Area and Kwame Nkrumah Circle are experiencing high patronage. They say they're hoping to cash in to make up for the poor sales they experienced during the year.
This one, 550 last, 600.
For almost 20 years, Sadiq Haruna has been working as a middleman, transporting livestock from Burkina Faso and northern Ghana to Accra. Here at their base near the new plant station at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, he says business for this year's Christmas is booming as he has already sold 8 goats today and by evening expecting to sell 20 more. He said prices of the goats have increased as the ones that were being sold at 250 and 300 cedis last year now cost 300 and 350 respectively.
I sell 1 500 and 5 300 and the 2 1 350 1 250.
Haruna and his men do not only sell livestock but also offer slaughtering services as well. It was not long that buyers began trooping in with requests for their purchased livestock to be slaughtered for them. The environment was not the best, but hygienic compared with other slaughtering places. Over here, they use LPG gas instead of car ties. The butchers say they charge between 30 and 40 cedis for each slaughter. David Abwaji, who is waiting for his goats to be slaughtered, said he has come to buy and kill here because of the way they handle the carcass. Seth also expressed similar sentiments, adding he requested that the intestine should be added. He waited patiently, supervising.
Yeah, everything is fine. The ground and the way they are washing the goat, I think it's okay. That's why I'm coming here to buy. I don't want them to cut it in the pieces, so I want them to just remove the inside this thing. Then they will put it back for me.
Soon the burning was done and the dressing began. His request was honored, the intestines were added, and the carcass was packaged. Seth walked away a happy man to enjoy Christmas. My Paul Soa, Kwame Nkrumah Circle, Accra.
The Fisheries Alliance, an advocacy group, has condemned the alleged massive diversion of 249 tankers of premix fuel. The group charged authorities of the National Premix Committee to ensure transparency and fairness in the distribution of premix fuel.
The Fisheries Alliance alleged that local fishermen who the premix fuel was meant for were not receiving the product. Most of the diverted premix fuel was sold to unsuspecting drivers, leading to damaged car engines and breakdowns. The group said though official complaints on the matter have been made to the Ghana Police Service, the Parliament of Ghana and other relevant agencies, they are yet to receive any favorable response from them.
These are serious issues because you don't know when you buy fuel and the premise will be sold to you. And these are also very serious matter for the fishermen who are not getting the premise. So what are we getting out of the heavy subsidies we put in? And we need to ensure that there is transparency, there's accountability, and there's openness, and also there should be probity.
The group proposed the immediate dissolution of the National Premise Committee to ensure transparency and fairness in the distribution of premise fuel.
We just don't want the companies involved to just be suspended. The question is, because they sold the premise. Where is the money? Until we do this, people will continue to do what they are doing.
The Fisheries Alliance charged security agencies to conduct investigations into the diversion of over 249 tankers of premise fuel, as well as the activities of all staff at the premise secretariat.
Some more business stories, and the Ghana and the World Bank Group have signed a credit agreement with $200 million credit for the second macroeconomic stability for competitiveness and growth development policy financing program. Director of Operations at Dalex Finance, Joe Jackson, says the facility will help address some of the inherent challenges in the 2017 budget.
The $200 million credit is for the financing of the 2017 budget and economic policies of government. The second macroeconomic stability for competitiveness and growth development policy financing program is in line with government's commitment to continue the stabilization program over the medium term. Director of Operations at Dalex Finance, Joe Jackson, was of the view the credit facility will help address some of the fundamental challenges in the economy.
The big, huge issues that affected us were not addressed in the budget. And this agreement seeks to address some of those things. It has to do with managing our incomes and managing our subsidies. It has to do with managing the salaries and the impact. Even more important, it has to do with better governance of our state-owned enterprises. Now, I tell you, some of the things that happen at state-owned enterprises are criminal.
The $200 million credit agreement will have a strong focus on legal, policy and institutional measures that may transcend political circles.
This is the second part of an agreement that was signed by the previous government. So there is some hope that they are truly transcending political cycles. Of course, the previous one had different targeted outcomes, but the targeted outcomes here make a lot of sense, and I hope it has to do with managing our debt better.
It is aimed at stronger institutions for more predictable fiscal outcomes, enhanced debt management capacity. Other outcomes expected are more effective public investment management and reinforcing social protection for the poor and vulnerable.
Part of this 200 million is going to be applied to better governance, to make sure that these state-owned enterprises really spend what they earn, and they do this taking the whole country and the context and the environment into consideration. I hope this will truly give us the outcomes that have been set out.
The combined success of the program is crucial for macroeconomic stability and a prerequisite for sustained growth. The financing is the second in a series of development policy operations planned for 2015 to 2017. The first was $150 million disbursed in August 2015.
Next, we have sports with Yao Ofusulabi. To stay. Welcome back. U.S. President Donald Trump has praised the UN Security Council for imposing tough new sanctions on North Korea in response to ballistic missile tests. President Trump, in a tweet, said, "The vote proved the world wants peace, not death." And a deadly wildfire which has destroyed more than 700 homes in California is now the largest blaze in the state's recorded history. The Thomas Fire has burned more than 1,000 square kilometers, an area greater than New York City, Brussels and Paris combined. Next, we have entertainment, and iconic high-life musician Kojo Antwi says fame alone does not give a secured future. The celebrated star wants musicians to pay particular attention in what they use their monies for and not blow it on unnecessary spendings. He has been speaking with our drama force.
Music maestro Kojo Antwi wants musicians to focus on building a secure future for themselves. The Adiepena composer said the showmanship makes up for just a small percentage of a musician's achievements. He said focusing more on fame will make one lose out on the important things.
One more time.
He added there was lots of information and opportunities to tap into, hence artists should be smart.
When you get engulfed in just the good times, you lose out on focusing on saving, knowing what to invest to, knowing what shows to play, trying to build your brand that at least you will see growth in what you do. It means you need to do some sowing. That sowing goes into how long you stay all by yourself, putting songs together.
Talking about the industry, Kojo Antwi said there were no properly regulated structures, policies and institutions to back its activities. He added, although it has been a debatable issue for a long time, no attention has been paid to it.
The situation that we are in doesn't give us that luxury. What I mean is that we do not have, there is nothing like old musician. Music gets better. The longer you hear them, the better the music becomes. And you should be seeing Anam Pedu, Adolfo, that generation having performances. But because we are so limited in terms of venues to perform, a certain age are those getting the gigs. Why? Because we only have one theater. Someone must drive all the way from Ajingano to come to National Theater to see a show. It shouldn't be that way.
About his annual December concert, he explained that he moved it out of the National Theater to a more spacious place in order to be able to interact with his fans. Kojo said the event, which has always been scheduled for December 24, comes off on December 26 this year, explaining it is an ideal time to have family and friends relax and enjoy some soothing music.
Well, that'll be all for this afternoon. I am Wendy Lai. Thank you so much for watching Midday Live. Enjoy the rest of our programs. Good afternoon.